Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is a nature legendary monster known as Sarah. This cloth doll may be adorable and cute, but don't underestimate her as a contestant. She's a DIY master and can create the most powerful attacks from something as simple as a wool ball. Here we have Sarah as a child, as a teen, as an adult, and I gotta say the first two levels, her child form and her teenage form, they're pretty creepy. Her adult form gets a lot better, but seriously, look at that baby, just straight out creepy. Her adult form though, I really do like, but now let's analyze her stats. Sarah's power is 3,234, which when we're talking about only nature legendary monsters, it's really not one of the highest. As of the time I'm recording this video, there are 14 nature legendary monsters, and this puts her in 7th place. And even worse is her life, 27,445. A life like this, when talking about nature legendary monsters, puts her in 13th place. Her speed on the other hand is really impressive. 3,476 is the fastest speed for nature monsters. It's actually tied with Lamu, so both Sarah and Lamu have the fastest speed. So a quick little recap of her stats. Her power is in the middle, her life is rather low, but her speed is amazing. As for her trait, she is immune to stun, which is one of the best traits to have. Granted, not too many nature monsters actually have stun skills. When going against other elements, specifically earth element, having an immunity to stun can really come in handy. So now let's review her default and special skills. For her default, we have wool ball attack, knitting wool. Nothing much to say about these skills as they are default, so let's move on to her special. Let's fleece them. Deals heavy nature damage to all enemies, may apply damage reduction and slow target. So this is an AoE skill that deals 60 damage, and the effects are that it gives damage reduction and slow. Now slow does have a 40% chance to land, so it might not land even though it is an ultimate attack. Damage reduction is pretty nice, but I wish this skill would have done a little more. Also, it's nature based, so if you're going against another nature monster, it probably won't be dealing too much damage, especially when you keep in mind her power isn't all that great. So overall, Sarah's ultimate isn't all that great. Of course, this does depend on slow. If slow tends to land more often than it misses, it has the potential to be good, but so far it's just based on how rarely you'll actually see slow land, and given that damage reduction, although it can help you, overall it's not too good. I wouldn't say her ultimate is something to gloat about. So really quickly, I'm gonna skim through skills group 1. We have woolly attack, wool heal, damage glove. None of these skills are worth talking about, so I'm skipping to skills group 2. So in skills group 2, we have a skill called woolly smash. Deals moderate nature damage, may stun target. It targets a single enemy with 45 damage, it costs 31 stamina, and it has no cooldown. So this skill is great, this skill is fantastic. You have a stun with no cooldown. There's really not much to say other than it's a stun with no cooldown. The only other nature monster besides Sarah that is immune to stun is Golden, which means that Sarah can easily mobilize the other 12 nature legendary monsters. This is a fantastic skill, something you should definitely run. Her following skill is called Red Wool Shield. Gives damage boost, immunity to freeze, and immunity to stun. Requires cooldown. So this skill targets all of your allies. It costs 30 stamina, it has a high fortune cooldown, but your whole team gets a damage boost, which means they'll deal 50% more damage. They get an immunity to freeze, and on top of that, they get an immunity to stun. And it's actually because of this skill right here, Red Wool Shield, that I consider Sarah to be one of the best nature monsters. And in fact, I consider her to be overall one of the best legendary monsters. I know a lot of people disagreed with that opinion. I know a lot of people had a lot to say about that. They completely disagreed that Sarah shouldn't be in the top 10 legendary monster of my list, but hear me out, okay? Red Wool Shield gives your whole team immunity to stun and immunity to freeze. Sarah, gotta scroll back up here, has a base speed of 3,476. This base speed is faster than just about every single deny monster that has an AoE freeze or an AoE stun. The only exception would be Krampus. Krampus has a base speed of 3,531 and he has an AoE freeze skill. So if you give Sarah and Krampus the exact same runes, Krampus would still be able to go first and immobilize Sarah and her team. But let's move down to water monsters. The only water monster that is faster than Sarah is Blob. So you take any other water monster, whether it be Kale Lake, whether it be Cavenfish, it doesn't matter who it is. Sarah would be able to go before that monster, which means that Sarah would be able to give your whole team immunity to freeze and immunity to stun. So can you imagine using Sarah in a team war where it's like common, nature, and water? If you see the enemy using anyone except General Thetis, all you have to do is run Sarah with all speedruns, and you're going to be able to go first, give your whole team immunity to freeze and stun, and you've basically made the enemy deny monster useless, because the main purpose of the enemy using a deny monster with all speedrun is to be able to go first and immobilize you. But if you have Sarah, you can prevent that from happening, which basically makes the enemy deny monster useless. So Sarah is not your typical deny monster, but she is in a way denying the enemy monster from denying you. How is that not top 10 legendary monster material? In my opinion, she is really that good. You know, on top of that, she has her own immunity to stun. Honestly, Sarah is that good. So I'm gonna scroll back down. We ended up on Red Wool Shield. Again, immunity to freeze, stun immunity, and even on top of that, she'll give your team a damage boost. Now, of course, you're free to say, well, armor, what if the enemy has General Thetis? Sarah isn't that good, is she? And my answer to you is yes and no. If the enemy has a General Thetis, keep in mind Sarah is way faster than General Thetis and you have a stun skill, which means there's still a chance to immobilize the enemy Thetis. And if you don't like that answer, you're still free to use whatever water monster you want to try to immobilize that enemy Thetis. But it really doesn't matter too much who you use, unless it's another General Thetis, or unless it's a blob with all speed runes. They're the only ones that can 100% for sure immobilize an enemy Thetis. If you're using a water monster that has a single freeze or an AoE freeze, it's going to be the same as trying to stun Thetis. There's a 35% chance it won't land. So I hope I was able to convince some people why Sarah is so good and why I think she deserves a spot in the top 10 legendary monsters, but if you still disagree, you're totally free to do so. Next on skills group 2, we have a skill called Poison Glove. Deals moderate nature damage, main poison target. This skill targets a single enemy, it deals 45 damage, costs 31 stamina, has a 0 turn cooldown, and all this skill basically does is to poison the enemy monster. Now, I personally don't recommend running this skill just because you have far superior skills in skills group 3. So from skills group 2, all you want to run is Woolly Smash and Red Wool Shield. So that moves us down to skills group 3. Woolly Crush deals heavy special damage, gives stamina regeneration, and may stun target, requires cooldown. You target a single enemy, it takes away 50 damage, costs 32 stamina, and it has a 2 turn cooldown. This skill is basically an upgraded version of Woolly Smash. Not only is it special based as opposed to nature based, which means you'll be able to start off by stunning the enemy nature monster in case you need to, and no damage will be lost, but at the same time you get energy regeneration, which means you'll never have to recharge with this monster. Keep in mind in skills group 2, she has a lot of skills that are 0 turn cooldown if you want to use that poison skill, or if you're running the 0 cooldown skill, which I think you should, so you'll never have to recharge and you'll always have an attack you'll be able to use. That's amazing. Woolly Crush is a really great skill. She also has a skill called Yellow Wool Shield, gives haste, immunity to burning, and immunity to poison, requires cooldown, so it's kind of like the other skill. It's a team skill, costs 30 stamina, also a high 4 turn cooldown, but the difference is that this gives haste, which of course it might not land, gives burning immunity, and poison immunity. Now, although this skill might look great on the surface, I really don't think it's worth running. For the most part, the monsters that tend to burn you are fire monsters, and if Sarah's going up against a fire monster, you're pretty much doomed. Even if you have burn immunity, one attack from a fire monster will pretty much finish you off. It's better to use Woolly Crush or Woolly Smash to try to stun the enemy fire monster. Poison immunity, that would be nice. Lots of nature monsters can dish out poison, but again, it's really not needed, especially when you have immobilizing skills like Woolly Crush. As for haste, haste would be nice, but a 40% chance to land, odds are you're probably not going to be landing haste, so Yellow Wool Shield, there's no need to run this skill. So lastly, we have Healing Glove. Deals heavy nature damage, heals by 30%, requires cooldown. You target a single enemy, it deals 50 damage, costs 28 stamina, and it has a 2 turn cooldown. The best part about this skill is that you heal 30% of your life. And that's perfect. Sarah is what I like to call a self-sustaining monster. She can heal herself. She can immobilize the enemy monster with stun. At the same time, she gives herself energy regeneration, which means you'll never have to waste her turn recharging. At the same time, if she needs to, she can give herself freeze immunity as well as a damage boost. And on top of that, she has 0 cooldown skills. Regardless of what you want to run, just think about it. If it was ever Sarah on a one-on-one versus any other monster, she has a really good chance of winning because she can heal herself whenever she needs to, because she can stand and give stamina regeneration, because she gets immunity to freeze and stun, which are some of the best immunities to have. She gives herself a little damage boost. She can poison if you choose to run Poison Glove. You run Woolly Smash and you'll be able to stun the enemy every other turn. She is basically a self-sustaining monster. Now, as for my recommended skill set, I would recommend Healing Glove, Woolly Crush, Red Wool Shield, and Woolly Smash. I imagine some people are thinking it might be a waste to run Woolly Crush and Woolly Smash because there's really no need to have 2 stun skills, 2 single stun skills at that, in which case you might want to substitute one of those skills with Poison Glove, and that's totally a valid argument and you're totally free to do so. Now, as for what runes you should run on this monster, you should definitely run all speed runes, the best speed runes you have. And like usual, I'm talking in the context of Team Wars. Player versus player in an adventure map, you're free to mess around with the runes. If you want to give her strength runes and you want to make her more offensive, you're free to do so. There's a lot more freedom with using skills and runes in player versus player and adventure map. But as far as Team Wars, for runes you should go all speed runes, and the main point of this monster is to use Red Wool Shield if you're ever going up against monsters that have AoE stun skills or AoE freeze skills. Because of Sarah's speed stat, you'll definitely be able to go before them. After that, you'll be able to use Woolly Crush to stun the enemy and at the same time give yourself stamina regeneration. Or sometimes you might not even need to start the game off with the Red Wool Shield. Sometimes you can go straight into the immobilizing with Woolly Crush or Woolly Smash. So that'll completely depend on what the rules are for a specific Team Wars. And that is actually going to conclude my analysis on Sarah. I hope all of you that are still watching the video really enjoyed it. I hope you guys were able to see that she is definitely top 10 legendary monster material. Given her amazing speed, given her trait, given the fact that she can stun or give your team immunity to stun and freeze, it's really hard to say she doesn't qualify as being a top 10 monster. But if you still disagree with me, I'd really like to hear it, so comment below and let me know why you don't think she's that great. complete. But like usual, I hope everyone who's still watching really enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a comment. Please share this video with all of your friends to play Monster Legends. And with that being said, I hope everyone has a great day or a great night. Remember to dream big and pursue your passions.